This is Dave Lombardo, and my new album, Rites of Percussion, written, recorded, and produced by moi, Dave Lombardo. Enjoy.
Beautiful, Dave. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
My pleasure, man. So, as you say, your debut solo album, Rites of Percussion, is about to drop on May the 5th. Now, I know you're no stranger to album releases, mate, but does this one feel different because A, it's just you with no bandmates to share the experience with, and B, it's just you and you're basically exposing yourself like never before?
Yeah. Yeah, it feels a little surreal because I've wanted to release something like this for years, and it finally came to fruition, and I'm very proud, and beyond happy at how well it's been received. I expected the typical, metalheads, oh, complaining about one thing or another, and and I was already ready to answer, those comments by, well, just wait 5 minutes. I'll be coming up with a new metal album real soon. It's like, or if you want to revert to Mr. Bungle or Dead Cross, those are a couple bands that we've just released albums with. So yeah, it's awesome, man. I love it. Maybe another one. It's been such a great experience.
That's good. The album's got 13 tracks. So was there ever a planned sonic direction or progression of music, or did you sort of each song more dictate the musical direction?
The album, the music took the direction on its own after, I started, creating the rhythms and then starting to layer sounds, because I worked by myself. It started taking a life of its own. And as the songs were developing, I started seeing the vision a little clearer, and it started becoming an actual entity, a body of work. It didn't sound to me, it wasn't developing like alien bits and pieces from different sessions. It became a cohesive body of work. So it was really interesting. And I had many moments during the recording process. Many moments, they were like aha moments or epiphanies where it's like, oh my God, where'd this come from? It was really cool. And it set me up, I feel, at this moment, when I look back, it set me up to hopefully pursue, number two, create, second Rites of Percussion. But it wouldn't sound the same. It would sound totally different because now, from different elements, drum, sound designing. So it was a great experience and really good learning experience, to say the least.
Oh. And so far you've released the single Journey of the Host. So is that a good sonic representation of the album as a whole?
I think I left the best or the better representations of the record. I left them out of the singles. Although all of them are a good representation of the album, but they were like, let's say, the opening track, Initiatory Madness. I had to look at the album, and that. And that, I felt that encompassed everything I wanted, the entire album to be. And so that piece has everything in one song. And then as the album progresses, it starts subdividing. And that wasn't intentional. That was something that just developed. And I love letting the creative process take control. and not being, a controlling artist where it has to be like this, it didn't have to be anyway, because it's such a new approach for me musically and direction, that I just let it become what it wanted to become, instead of manipulating it, making it sound like something off of Mickey Hart's Planet Drum, or making it sound like another artist. No, I wanted to sound to be a true expression of myself.
I think that's a good point, actually, mate. Like, before we go any further, we should clear one thing up. Like, Rights of Percussion is purely a solo drum album by yourself. Like, there's no guest artists or singers. It's just a true representation of Dave Lombardo, the drummer. Is that right?
Yes. Yes, it is. And the diversity as well. I'm into percussion. I'm into cinematic sounds, and I'm into, obviously, drums, drum set. I'm into different rhythms. I'm into funk. I'm into blues. I'm into, avant-garde, random time signatures and so forth. So, it's like a all-encompassing of really what I'm about, which a lot of people now know, that it's not just thrash metal, even though that put me on the map. I'm grateful for what put me on the map, musically. But there's just so much more, and so much love for different styles of music, that I'm happy that, I was able to release something like this.
Like, you've made a couple of decent friends in the music industry over the years, mate. Like, was it ever tempted to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, James," or "Hey, Tom, I got this thing going on, I want you to be part of"? Like, is that ever tempting?
Oh yeah. But not for this project. I mean, there's another project that an album that I just released, and it's called Venamoris, and it's ballads, love songs, and female vocalist. My wife and I, we put it together, and I called in different musicians, George Pagan from Black Eyed Peas, Tim Stewart from Lady Gaga. I brought in Raw Diaz from Korn. You know, let's see, who else? Jackson from Exodus, and they helped me. They guitar, bass, slide guitar. So that possibility is always there for a project like this, like Rights of Percussion. But this was personal. This was something I wanted to say, musically.
And you said that Mike Patton originally gave the idea for this in 1998 when he introduced you to Tito Puente's top percussion album. So what about that album gave you the inspiration?
When I looked, when I found that CD, when he told me about it, and then I went search for it at all record stores at that time, and you couldn't, in the late '90s, you weren't able to find, at least I don't remember being online looking for music like you can do today. So I think what I was amazed by was, one, I was, it was an artist that I had a connection with because he's from the Caribbean, and two, the layering of, you could tell it was one drummer but playing all the parts. So he would start, he would record one rhythm, and then he would come in, he would do another track, and then record another rhythm over the top of that. And again, he would repeat the process until you have this, drum ensemble. It was like an onslaught of percussion but it felt musical to me. It had melody. And and so that's I think what for me like really attracted me and fell in love with that record. And also, I knew of John, I knew a few things, but I didn't know about that particular album. Another artist that John Bonham and Bonzo's Montreux on the last Coda record. I mean, on the last Zeppelin record, Coda. That song impressed me because of the fact that it was just one person creating this body of work. So that those two were the biggest inspiration for creating this record.
And the press release says that you went into the recording with one simple mantra, that drums had to be drums. Now, well, that sounds cool. I got absolutely no idea what it means. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, a lot of musicians, it's easy to fall in to the how would you call it, the over processed drums, like what you hear on a lot of death metal records. You don't hear natural sounding drums. And in a lot of rock and metal bands, they just use a very high tech drum machine. And those drum samples really don't sound like real drums. And so I didn't want to give the listener or this recording that element. I want it to be as natural and real as possible, even with the little nuances, little, let's say I don't hit the drum perfect. I didn't want to. It's fine. It's okay. Let it have its personality. As long as the performance has life and a spirit and energy, that's what resounds in the mind or in the listener's ear. I feel that once you strip that away, the human element in music, I feel then you're playing your music for a whole other audience, and it's just not, honestly, not in my mantra, not my musical mantra. It had to be real.
And during the recording, you used a large amount of like things like a large concert bass drum. There's a timpani, there's grand piano, a flock of shakers, maracas, Chinese and symphonic gongs, Native American drums, you name it, congas, timbales, bongos. Like, I don't even know what half of those are, bro, but there's a lot of different instruments for one drummer. It's like, did you play all of those yourself on the album?
Yes, I did. Yeah. Yes, I basically, set up microphones at home. I had, I have drum set in the living room, dining room area. Is a very large cavernous room. And so I had a little 4-piece drum set there. I also had my congas there. And I would take my drums in any part of the house and play them. And I had another drum set was upstairs in a more isolated the dead room. There was the living drums and then the dead drums is what I call them. The dead drums were in an isolated room with a lot of dampening on the walls, and there was no reverberation whatsoever. And then I went from recording some of the drums in the dead room and then I recorded some of the percussion in the living room, where the living drums were, So I had these little things, these rooms going on. And it was so much, running cables through the entire house, and all these cables, and trying to figure things out. And it was a lot of fun and super. Like I said, it was so educational because I was able to educate myself and with different software and different recording techniques, and and really get into the art of recording engineering.
All right, David, I'd love to keep going, mate, but we've run out of time. So thanks very much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure. Rites of Percussion is out on May the 5th. And just one final quick question, mate. Do you think fans of Slayer are going to enjoy this album?
No.
Short answer.
There's open-minded, musicians that, will, or fans that will understand. But, it's a lot of, metalheads, they don't get into it, which is perfectly fine. Go ahead and, listen to one of my old records.
Well, I love it. I love Slayer. I love Rites of Percussion. It's a bloody good album, mate. You've done a good job. So good on you for putting yourself out there like that. It's a very brave move. So congratulations.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, brother. Take care, man. Thanks for your time.